Nneka's nails dug into Mama's wrapper, as if the cloth were her last shield against the terror outside. The flames in the hearth hissed and sputtered, shrinking low, as though afraid of what was drawing near. Shadows leaped across the walls, in strange shapes, some resembling claws, others bending into forms that had no name. The voice came again, cold, ancient, whispering from every corner of the hut. "Why did you wake me?" N's chest tightened. It was the same voice she had heard in the compound, the same words, now louder, heavier, pressing into her mind like a weight she could not throw off. Her lips parted, but before she could speak, Mama seized her shoulders and hissed, "Do not answer. No matter what you hear, do not speak back." N nodded frantically, tears streaming down her face. The door groaned wider, and though no figure stood in the entrance, something darker than darkness itself began to seep inside. The air turned icy, each breath scraping N's lungs. The voice deepened, now closer, now above them, now beneath the floor. "You swept my bed, you brushed my rest away, and now I am awake." Nneka's body shook violently. Her heart hammered so hard she thought her ribs would break. She wanted to scream, but Mama's grip on her arm was firm, commanding her to stay silent. Then it happened. The shadows in the hut thickened, twisting together into a form, tall, forbidding, a figure of smoke and darkness, with two burning pits where eyes should have been. It filled the doorway, then stepped forward, its presence making the very walls tremble. N whimpered, burying her face against Mama's side. The spirit raised its arm, long shadowy fingers stretching unnaturally toward the girl. The whisper slid into her ear, colder now, sharper. "You cannot run. You cannot hide. You woke me." Mama Ephraim's face was pale, her body rigid, but her eyes burned with fierce determination. She reached for the clay pot filled with white powder, dipped her hand inside, and clutched a fistful tightly. Her voice rose, strong despite the fear in her chest. She chanted words older than her own mother, older than the village itself. The spirit paused. Its glowing eyes flickered, uncertain, but the shadow still advanced. N held her breath, her body trembling, her heart begging for release. She clung to Mama like a child, too afraid to look, too afraid not to. Then, with sudden force, Mama flung the white powder toward the doorway. The grains scattered in the air like sparks of light, catching the fire's glow for a brief instant, before landing on the ground. The moment they touched the floor, the hut shuddered. A scream tore through the night. It was not human, it was not animal. It was something deeper, something that rattled the bones and curdled the blood. The sound pierced through the walls of the compound, echoing into the night beyond. The figure writhed, its shadowy body twisting unnaturally, as though the powder burned it. The fire in the pot blazed higher, roaring like a living beast. For an instant, the hut glowed bright, every shadow banished to the corners, then silence. The door slammed shut with such force the walls shook. The fire blazed once more, then died in a single breath, leaving the hut in near-darkness. The heavy air lifted, the suffocating presence dissolved. N gasped for air, clutching her chest, trembling so violently she thought her bones would snap. Mama slumped beside her, breathing hard, sweat dripping from her brow. At last, the spirit screamed, thrashing violently, as its body writhed like smoke caught in fire. Its voice echoed, "She woke me. She is mine." With her final strength, Mama Ephraim raised her hands and cried out, "Return to the darkness from where you came. By blood, by fire, by the word of the ancestors, be gone." The spirit let out, One last ear-piercing scream, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Then, with a violent gust of wind, it exploded into ashes of shadow, dissolving into the night air. The door slammed shut on its own, sealing the hut in silence. For a long while, neither Nneka nor her mother moved. Only the crackling fire remained, the faint glow painting their faces pale with exhaustion. Nneka's sobs broke the silence, her small body collapsing into her mother's arms. "Mama, is it gone?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. Mama Ifema stroked her daughter's hair, her own hands trembling, though she tried to hide it. "For now, my child, for now." The hut smelled of burnt herbs and ash, the air still thick with the memory of the spirit's presence. The symbols on the floor glowed faintly, then faded as though their power had been spent. Outside, the night was silent, no crickets, no owls, no dogs. Only an unnatural stillness that spoke louder than noise. Nneka pulled away slightly, her wide eyes searching her mother's face. "Why us, Mama? Why do they come here?" Her mother looked into the dying flames and sighed heavily. "Because tradition is more than rules, my daughter. Every warning, every taboo carries the weight of centuries. The spirits do not forgive when we forget. You swept at night, and the veil between worlds tore. That is why they came." Nneka nodded slowly, her young face etched with a fear that would never leave her. She understood now, the elders' words were not just stories. They were shields, forged from the wisdom of survival. As dawn's first light crept through the cracks of the hut, Mama Ifema whispered a final prayer to the ancestors. The night had passed, but the memory of the spirit would linger forever. And from that day onward, Nneka never again touched a broom after the sun had set. The days that followed were quiet in Io village, but quiet in a way that felt heavy, as though the shadows still lingered at the edges of the huts. Nneka moved through her chores with a new weight on her shoulders. She was only 16, yet the events of that one night had aged her soul. Her friends laughed, played, and teased her for being too serious, but they did not know. She could never tell them the full truth. Some things were too heavy for children's hearts. Instead, she watched the world with sharper eyes, seeing how the elders' words were stitched into every breath of the village. At dusk, when the sun slipped behind the tall palm trees and the sky deepened into purple, Nneka always felt a shiver run down her spine. She would sit close to Mama Ifema by the fire, listening carefully whenever her mother spoke of the old ways. One evening, when curiosity burned in her chest, she asked softly, "Mama, why do the spirits come only at night?" Her mother's eyes glistened in the firelight. "Because night belongs to them, Nneka. When the world sleeps, the veil between the living and the dead grows thin. It is in darkness that forgotten promises and broken traditions awaken. That is why we honor the laws, not because they are easy, but because they keep us safe." Nneka nodded, the firelight dancing in her wide eyes. She understood now, more deeply than ever before. The elders' warnings were not born of superstition, but of blood, memory, and sacrifice. From then on, she became the girl who reminded others. When the young ones tried to sweep after sunset, she stopped them. When someone laughed at an elder's tale, she whispered, "You do not know what hides in the dark." Some mocked her, but many listened, for there was something in her eyes that silenced doubts, the look of one who had seen. Years later, when she herself became a mother, Nneka told the story to her children. She spoke of the spirit with hollow eyes, of the whispers that crept like snakes through the night, of the pounding on the door that threatened to tear her world apart. Her children shivered and clung to her, but they listened. They remembered, and so the story lived on, passed down like the fire of a torch. Warning every generation that the night is not empty, that the spirits of the darkness walk unseen, waiting for a mistake. Moral of the story: traditions are not mere chains of the past. They are shields forged by those who came before us. What may seem like superstition often hides deep truth. The elders do not forbid us from sweeping at night to control us. They do it to protect us. Lesson of the story: respect the wisdom of those who walked before you, for their words may be the only barrier between you and the darkness you cannot see.